Wait, we're sitting here.
Hello!
Oh my god.
And welcome back to another episode of the Spouting Devil podcast.
Spouting Devil. I'm getting better at saying it every time. Yeah. I'm Natasha, co-host.
And I'm Seamus, co-host.
We are a married couple. We live in the Bronx. We're independent filmmakers, and we geek out about film.
Yep, and we are not lawyers.
Yep, no.
And we are not film critics. So, disclaimers out the way.
Grain of salt. Our guest this week is Alex Rubin.
Yes,
we met
the
her
best.
at the Stowe Story Labs, which we all took part in this past summer. By the time this is released, we can announce that our short film archive in the Storyteller is going to be hosted on their alumni channel, which is very exciting for us, and we'll put a link in a bio. Stowe Story Labs is an incredible organization, so if you are an emerging writer, it is one way to
check it out for sure.
To meet people and get in there. But let's talk about what we watched this week.
Yep.
It was on Netflix. It came out a couple of years ago, but we're just hip to it.
Yep.
It's Lupin. Lupin, our main actor is Omar Sy from The Untouchables. It's a French, slick,
whodunit, Sherlock Holmes meets Luther kind of mystery series. But it's a lot of fun to watch, and it's just really cool.
And they did a phenomenal job of casting the younger version of the lead character, and I want to put his name, I know it's Mamadou, I forget his last name, I want to put it in here because that kid is fantastic.
Yeah, the younger versions of the main characters, the casting on that, it's incredible.
The chemistry, every time that you think you know what's about to happen, it flips it on you, which I really enjoy because I hate being ahead of the story. But you gotta, what is it, suspend
you gotta suspend disbelief.
Yeah, because it gets a little like...
Sometimes it's cheesy a little bit, but it's fun though.
Yeah.
As long as you realize it's all just fun.
And having had been to France to see them shoot in all those locations was
it was really cool.
Really cool. Shall we, darling?
Yes, we shall.
So we're gonna read her bio. She said we could cut it, but it's fantastic, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
All right. Alex is a fixer. A former press manager, she can fix your image. A former Apple genius, she can fix your phone. A former PA for the Radio City Rockettes, she can fix anything. And while she doesn't recommend fixing people, her work explores broken families as they attempt to piece themselves back together. This is, of course, inspired by her own fascinating family of government agents, body snatchers, and cult of actors.
She has written for iHeartRadio's Solve and Peg's Jackie Cox variety show. As a playwright and lyricist, she's been awarded the Writer's Digest Award in Playwriting, Big Vision Empty Wallets Playwriting Fellowship, and residencies at Space on Rider and HBMG's National Winter Playwrights Retreat. Her plays and musicals have been produced across the U.S., Canada, Mexico, and the U.K.
She graduated from USC with an MFA in writing for film and television and has placed in competitions including Final Draft's Big Break, Austin Film Festival, Barnstorm, and Screencraft. She was selected for the 2021 Women in Film Blacklist Episodic Lab with her pilot Lost Hope Hotel and the 2023 Forge Fellow, the 2023 Stowe Labs, and ISA's 25 Screenwriters to Watch in 2023.
Alex was a showrunner's assistant and script coordinator on Amazon's The Horror of Dolores Roach, and is the writer's assistant on Season 4 of Netflix's Sweet Magnolias, for which she has written an upcoming episode.
Everybody, please welcome Alex Rubin.
Alex Rubin!
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Alex. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. All right, let's jump in. I'm going to jump in and do some questions. Could you take us back to like baby Alex, and what were the kinds of films that inspired you to become a writer?
So I started in theater, so I'm going to totally take advantage of the question.
Yes.
I'm going to talk about 3 shows and like theater shows, and then I'll talk about film and television.
Love that.
Perfect.
I'm going to mention 3 musicals that people can actually like go and see because they're recorded, because I think that's more fair than being like, this random little thing that I saw in the West End in a basement. So Into the Woods, the Bernadette Peters recording of Into the Woods, I probably wore that VHS tape out. And also told everybody how old I am by saying VHS tape, but I definitely wore that tape out it's an absolute masterpiece of a musical. It is masterful storytelling. And I think it taught me a lot about how to tell a story. The twists and the turns. I tend to love twists and turns as a writer, and there are major twists and turns in that one. Rent, because I was like, I am 10 years old in South Jersey, and clearly this is for me.
Yeah, great. That's so good.
But it's, it was for an entire generation. It was an example of musicals can be for us. It doesn't just have to be Gilbert and Sullivan, Rodgers and Hart. Like this can be contemporary, and it can speak to issues that matter to us.
Absolutely.
So that was super important to me. I took my fiance to see it because I'm educating him in musicals because he's a metalhead. So
sick.
He's learning about musicals. But
I'm sure he loves that.
Well, there are musicals, like he loves Beetlejuice and he loves Rent. So like
you saw Beetlejuice?
Yeah.
Oh, is it sick?
Nice.
Oh, it is one of the best movie to musical
adaptations
I've ever
awesome
that I've ever seen. It's spectacular. Highly recommend.
Great.
But I took him to see this filmed version of Titanic, and the experience of going with me to see Titanic is for the entire first act I keep leaning over going, I love this song. And then the entire second act is me just nonstop crying.
That's great. That's
tears
perfect.
streaming down my face and trying not to full-throated sob.
Great.
So those had a huge influence on me for many different reasons. And then thinking back to film and television, Back to the Future it is my favorite movie to this day.
It's pretty awesome.
It is so good. It's a plant and payoff palooza. It's like every little thing that happens has an effect. Yeah, it is awesome. And there's a musical version on Broadway right now. So Back to the Future, because of that plant and payoff palooza-ness of it. But I'm a cheerleader because it told me I was queer. Like, I dare you to watch Natasha Lyonne and Clea Duvall kiss each other and be like, oh no, I'm like obviously 100% straight.
Yeah. That's great.
So it meant a lot to me on more than one level.
Awesome.
And then Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I mean,
another classic, a classic.
The OG, right?
Yeah.
With Paul Rubens when he's like,
I wasn't even going for the OG. No, I'm talking about the TV series. I mean, the OG is phenomenal.
Okay.
Also, the television series, because I wanted to like put a TV show in here, the television series meant so much to me because it's this beautiful metaphor for what it's like to grow up, and like you make like fighting your inner demons literal, and I especially love the season that everybody else has problems with is season 7, but I love it. The reason I think people have problems with it is that Buffy and her friends have a difference of opinion in how they should handle something, and Buffy goes, I believe in what I'm saying, so I'm going to go off and do this myself. And I think people get upset because they're not all together fighting, but I think it's such a lesson in you have to trust yourself and trust your instincts.
Because when you grow sometimes within a group of people, you grow apart or you grow differently, and you have to honor that to honor who you are. Really quick though, when you said I'm a cheerleader, it reminded me that I've worked with Jamie Babbitt, who directed that, and she's the effing best.
And I took class, one of my professors at USC was Brian Peterson, who wrote it.
Awesome.
Get out.
Right. So for everybody, there's no one way, right, to get into whatever it is that you're doing. Yeah. So I was wondering if you could talk about your background and and just what your path was to becoming a screenwriter.
Yeah. So
which is a big question, but just,
Yeah. I try and keep it interesting because nobody wants to hear just like someone give their bio.
Right.
But
Which is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes.
But like I said, I started in theater. I grew up in South Jersey, and I was one of like 5 Jewish kids in a born again Christian town, and theater was such an outlet. And it gave me opportunities to go into Philadelphia and up to New York so that I could get out of where I was, which was a place that I didn't like. I was not happy growing up in South Jersey. So I started in theater. I get to the end of high school, and
Sorry, as an actor? Like, were you
As an actor.
acting
Oh,
and
yeah.
singing? All right, yeah, cool.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, so you're on stage. All right.
I'm on stage.
Yeah.
I'm singing things, and people are telling me where to stand.
Great.
Love.
Yeah.
I took like some very adult classes up in New York while I was in high school. Like now I look back on it and I'm like, oh, it's like weird that I sat in the middle of a room of like 30-year-olds and talked about like my deepest, darkest secrets at 16. Like that's probably not normal, but I was happy to do it.
Yeah.
So I get to the end of high school, and I'm still thinking I'm going to be an actor. But I am somebody that loves to learn, but high school was so hard that I had lost that fire to learn, and I didn't want to go straight to college hating learning.
Yeah.
So I took a year off. I moved up to New York City. I did an internship at the New Victory Theater, which was incredible. I worked at Starbucks to make money. I didn't know how money worked, so I ate a lot of crackers for dinner.
Yep.
And I took acting classes. And I just had this year of saying, okay, this is the real world. So now I know what that's all about. I'm going to go to college now knowing what I'm going to be in for when I get out, which is hard. It's hard stuff. And it's like, it was good to have a preview of what I was in for. And I ended up going to Hofstra University out on Long Island and started off as an acting major. And the way that their program works is everybody starts off as a BA, and then you audition into the BFA.
Okay.
And I start doing my classes, and I'm looking around and I'm like, I'm not like a great actor. I'm not super at this. And in order to get super at this, I would have to do a lot of things that I just really don't feel like doing. And I happened to write and direct a short play during that time. One of my friends said, hey, you should do the directing major. I said, oh, we have a directing major. I didn't know that. And I ended up applying for the BFA in directing and got that. And the cool thing about it was I was only the 3rd person to ever do that major. So I designed my whole major. I got
It's alive.
It was awesome. I got to choose the classes that I did. I got to choose the plays that I directed. And I wrote while I did that too, because every once in a while I was like, there's not a play that I am super stoked to direct right now. I'm going to write my own thing. And so when I graduated, I went, I've spent 4 years learning to be a director. I really want to do this writing thing. Yep. And I ended up giving myself this unofficial undergrad in writing by just taking tons of classes all over. I was living full-time in New York at that point. I took tons of classes all over New York. I got into the BMI musical theater workshop as a lyricist, which is, that ends up being, it's like grad school for musical theater writing, but it's free. And you go in as either a lyricist, a composer, a book writer, or some people get in as both a lyricist and a composer, but it's rare. So I did that for 2 years, and even did like some private tutoring for myself just to like really sharpen my skills. And I got to the point where I was getting into residencies. I was winning some contests. I was in the Samuel French Off Broadway Festival. Like a lot of great stuff was going on, but I kept hitting this ceiling. and I could not break through. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna apply to grad schools because
what was the ceiling? What was the ceiling that you referenced?
So the ceiling, I didn't realize what the ceiling was until I left theater. Which I haven't fully left theater. I still want to write theater. But until I was out of the community, I didn't understand that the ceiling that I was hitting is the fact that I write female-centered stories. And I did not realize how male-centered theater was until I was out of the community. It's surprising because it is an art community that really values uplifting unheard voices, in theory. But in reality, it is like you are hard pressed to find more than 1 or 2 female writers on Broadway in any given season.
Fuck that. I want to disrupt that. There's so many industries like that where it's like in theory and then in reality, and it's just like enough with the gatekeeping and the marginalization. Like, open up the doors, let us in, because there's more talent than you are accounting for right now.
Yeah, and it has a lot to do with mentorship, which I have like a huge soapbox about mentorship, because what's happening is, of course, naturally, people want to mentor people that they see themselves in.
Right.
So the problem is that we have a lot of men in charge in the theater community, and the people that they want to mentor are people like them, which are other men. And it just doesn't leave room for women to wriggle their way up. So that is something that I feel very passionate about. And one day when I and selling my tons and tons of scripts or whatever.
Fucking A. Yes, we will see.
Yes, we will.
See.
That's right.
I really want part of what I do with that success to be that I create opportunities for women in theater.
Awesome. And this is not, you're not talking just about musicals either, right? You're talking about plays, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember when Waitress was going on and all of the talk about the women that were involved in Waitress, and I thought that it was so great. And then Tootsie came to Broadway a couple years afterwards, and I went, this is a show about a man dressing up as a woman in order to take a part from a woman. And there are not women on this creative team.
Insane.
So it's everywhere. I would even say that it's a little bit easier for women to get in on a musical than on a play, because with a play, you're talking one writer. And I think that people are still, it's shocking because we're about to be in 2024, but I think that people are still nervous to put all of their faith in one female writer.
Oh, that makes my blood just like makes me so angry. Okay, so you said you went the MFA route, right?
So yes. So
how did that affect your career?
Well, the first thing to know is that I applied to grad school for 5 years. And I think that's really important to know, because I think that a lot of people get discouraged if they apply once and they don't get in.
Wow.
But I applied for 5 years, and I was applying to Yale, Columbia, the big playwriting MFAs. And I was
just go big or go home.
It was go big, and they told me to go home. I didn't even get interviews for these. And then the 5th year that I was applying, I had this wonderful mentor, Jeremy Redleaf, who is a director and a producer. And he said, you should also apply to film school. And I was like, I mean, I'll do it, I guess, but I don't know what they want from me. This musical theater kid from South Jersey. And so I applied to film school, and then I got into the film schools and not into the playwriting programs. And I went, okay, I heard.
me a sign. Oh, what's this Joker doing now?
Like,
Yeah.
I would go to
Yeah.
film
All
school.
right.
Yeah.
All right.
And I got the opportunity to go to USC, which is arguably the best film school in the country. Some people say the world, but I'm kind of like, well, there are different kinds of storytelling in different places.
Yeah.
But arguably the best one in the country. And I say that not as like, not because I want to go fight UCLA, but because the track record of people that go from school at USC to having careers is just unmatched.
Awesome.
They're everywhere. And it's a big part of why I went to USC, because I said, I don't know anybody in Hollywood, and I'm going to need to know people if I'm going to work here. And it gave, both of the rooms that I've been in, I got into those rooms because of other USC grads.
Wow. Oh.
The secret order.
Yeah.
Gryffindor.
They call
You're
it they call it the USC Mafia.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
It's real. It's absolutely real.
Illuminati,
As someone that
baby.
grew up in Jersey across the street from the Mafia, I can tell you the USC Mafia is real.
Yep. You can always spot a good fellow when you see him. You know where they are. Yep.
Okay, so you're in writers' rooms, and walk us through like what your actual position is.
Oh, and before we get there, can you tell us the moment, whether it was a phone call or an email, when you heard you got into your first writer's room, and what was that like for you, and just like the lead up, because
So
that's cool.
I squeezed everything I could out of USC. Like, I met everybody that I could. I took every opportunity possible. And in my final semester, I had a full course load, but I heard that Dara Resnick was teaching a pilot rewrite class. And I was like, I have to take this. Like, she is a woman working as a showrunner. I have to take this class. So I took out extra loan money so that I could take Dara's class, which
Come
is
on,
like
7.
Taking out extra loan money is like removing a kidney without any anesthesia. It's just like, okay, fine, here's more of my life.
Yeah.
But I took that class. Dara was absolutely incredible. And when I graduated, pretty much every 6 weeks, I would text her and say, hey, can we get coffee?
Yeah.
She was very busy, so she never had time to get coffee. But the January after I graduated, she called me and she said, okay, I still can't get coffee, much too busy, but would you like a job in a room? And I was like,
Fuck the coffee. Yeah.
Come on! Yes! Come on!
Obviously, we'll drink lots of coffee in the room. That sounds great.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
And her pitch was actually, would you like to come and make less money working more hours with me? And I said,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It was
Incredible.
fantastic. It's like top 5 days of my life.
Oh,
Wow.
I love that.
Wow.
And so I came into that room as the showrunner's assistant and the script coordinator, which is becoming more common. And I have
both?
Yes.
What?
It's becoming more common. I have very big feelings about the consolidation of roles. And I'm very hopeful that when IATSE is negotiating next year, that this is something that's addressed. The only reason this worked without giving me a complete and total breakdown is because Dara knows television so well. And she was like, the way that we're going to make it work is while we are in the room, if you have any script coordinator duties, you're going to get help from the writer's room assistant and from our staff writer. And then once the room is over and we go into production, they were shooting in Canada. because of Canadian film laws, I couldn't go with them to continue to be their assistant. So they got a Canadian assistant while they were up there, so I could just focus on the script coordination, which is way more work during production than it is in the writer's room.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, having had worked with both of those positions, that's like two full-time jobs that you
Yes,
then put on one person. And I'm just like, when you're saying that to me, I'm like, how though? Like, how is that even possible?
It was insane. I mean, there were days when I pulled 16-hour days. Like it did not happen a lot, but it happened at least 3 times that I pulled a 16-hour day. And it's not the showrunner's call. That's what's interesting about
Oh yeah, no, it's not. Yeah.
About like support staff, especially. The showrunners don't make a call as to what support staff they get. They are told by their studio, like, okay, so you will have a writer's room assistant, but not like, we don't have a script coordinator in the room that I'm in right now. We don't get the script coordinator until production starts. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, and for those of us who don't know, could you briefly explain what does a script coordinator do?
Yeah, well, briefly. Yes.
Oh, yes, sorry. Yeah.
So the script coordinator is really like, the script is your whole responsibility. And it means that while the writer's room is going on, every draft that is going to be distributed, you read through that draft and you are proofreading, but you're also looking for continuity. So if you're reading a draft and it says like, oh, his dad's from the Dominican Republic, but 3 episodes ago we said his dad was from Cuba, like that's a huge thing. We have to make sure that everything makes sense and continues to make sense. So you're doing that during the writer's room, and when production kicks off, that's when your life gets crazy, because every time there is a change to the script, you need to release that change. Every draft gets a color at that point. So, if you're on blue draft or yellow draft, and then at the same time, you're working with legal to make sure that that there's nothing in the script that's going to get you sued. So when I worked on The Horror of Dolores Roach, which is when I was the script coordinator, Amazon was really, really sensitive to the use of any kind of brand, because they have a huge Amazon marketplace.
Right.
So they don't know if they are selling the brand that you're talking about. So this can't be like accidental advertising, and it can't be something that's derogatory towards a product that they're selling. So we had to make up the name of every single product, the name of every single storefront. And that was also my job. So I would have to come to my showrunners and say, okay, I thought up these 15 names for paper towel rolls.
Yeah.
Wow.
They would pick 3 that they liked, and then I'd go over to our clearance person and say, here are the 3 that they liked. Can we run these and see if these actually exist as a paper towel brand?
Right.
Shit.
And if they didn't, then we could use them. But there were times when I had to go back and forth 3 or 4 times to get something that was not in it.
Wow.
I don't think people understand like how important that is when they're watching a show. Like those little things take you out completely, and that affects viewership, and that affects just real quick, we watched the Horror of Dolores Roach. We love that kind of like horror, like, and I, as a Latina, I was so happy to see Justina Machado like just killing it. I also have a major career girl crush on Gloria Calderon Kellett, so like that's so awesome that you worked with her. Can you talk at all about like being in those rooms in the time of COVID? You know what I mean? Like, what was that like?
Yeah. So Dolores was 93% on Zoom.
Wow.
We met a couple of times, and the times that we met, everybody had to take a COVID test. It was a whole thing. But we met a couple of times in person, but for the most part, we were on Zoom. I think that it's totally doable. Because a room gets into a rhythm and you can find that rhythm on Zoom. The place in which it does not work is comedy because you're trying to riff off each other. And Zoom chooses Zoom will make a choice for you if several people are talking who gets heard.
Yep.
So comedy, I think, is really, really difficult, if not impossible to do on Zoom. But when you're talking about a drama, and Dolores was, it's a horror comedy, so there definitely was comedy in there, but it was much more character driven and not so much about like puns. So it did work for us. It was not ideal. I'm in Sweet Magnolias now, and we have a hybrid room. So there's 4 writers that are like physically there in the room, and then we have 2 writers that are on Zoom.
Okay.
And we have developed a raised hand system. And it works for Sweet Magnolias, but if we were writing something that you're meant to have 3 to 4 jokes on every page, I think it'd be really hard to do that.
And congrats on your latest episode.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congrats. We're gonna plug it.
Amazing.
That's exciting. So is there a script or a screenwriter that you're like, okay, you are the one?
So I'm sorry if I'm pulling back the curtain. I get these questions in advance so I can think about them.
That's okay.
And I thought about this question a lot because the answer is, of course, there are writers that I'm like, they're incredible. There are scripts that I think are incredible, but I wanted to use this to kind of shout out newer, less established writers that people should absolutely know.
Yes,
Please.
I love that. That's a way better response to the question.
Hell yeah.
And these are not all of the incredible writers that I know, but I kind of just picked one from each circle of my life. So Jenny Ulmer and Hannah Stoddard are a writing team. They were on Reboot. They have the like freshest, funniest female characters. I'm blown away by what they write. It's just, I've never read anything like it before. So Jenny Ulmer and Hannah Stoddard.
Sorry,
amazing.
real quick. We were such huge fans of Reboot, and we were actually really pissed when it got canceled because it was just like, oh my God, this is so fresh. It is so funny, and it's so meta. And I just don't think people understood it. It was awesome. Sorry, go ahead.
And
no, it's fine.
And before you move on too, you said there was something about what they write that you just hadn't seen before. I know it could be this could be a difficult question, but like, is there something specifically like you're like, yo, it's this thing about what they're doing that like
it's, it's I'm going to try and define this term that I'm about to coin. It's unapologetically female.
Love.
It's like it's just it comes, their scripts, when you read the women in them, it's like, yeah, these are real ass women. Like, this is not what we're used to seeing. And it's very raw, but very funny. And there's so much heart to it as well. And that's who they are too. Like, these 2 ladies are incredible, and they are so just like comfortably themselves. It's beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And okay, and then you said there were another writer, right?
There's 2 more. There's Sasha Pasternak. I went to USC with her. You will see her name placed in every big name competition. I am just convinced that she is going to absolutely blow up soon. She has this incredible script called Vicious. That's about Nancy Spurgeon and Sid Vicious, but not in the way that you would think. It's like a very interesting way to tell the story. So she's absolutely incredible. And then the last person that I'll mention is Garrett Bell. He writes plays and musicals, and he is now moving into the film and television arena. He's got this insane social commentary and wit to what he writes, and heart, and anybody that can write a play called about Judas, in which Judas like time travels and it totally makes sense, and I'm like, yeah, I totally understand what you're going for.
Oh, I love that.
What is it about screenwriting that speaks to you the most over, say, directing, or if you wanted to be a painter or something like that? Like, so basically, why do you write? What's the drive?
The joke answer is that I started off as an actor and I wasn't able to control what I did on stage, so I became a director, and I wasn't able to control what was going on in the script, so I became a writer.
Oh, that's great.
Love that.
That's perfect.
It's the joke answer, but it's also like, number one, in terms of the jobs in theater and film and television, I've done most of them. I did all of the jobs that you could have in theater, and then in film and television, I've worked as a PA, I've worked in costume, I've worked as a line producer, a director. Like I've done a ton of stuff in that space too. And the fact of the matter is, I physically can't do anything except for writing. I can't do anything else and be happy. When I was in undergrad, my teachers would say all the time, if you can do anything else with your life, do it, because this is really hard. And I didn't believe them at the time. And now I'm like, yeah, if this is an incredibly hard thing to do, not just the work, but emotionally, it's so hard. I'm coming off of a show. I don't know when my next job is going to be. And it's like being on the worst episode of The Price is Right, where it's like, I don't even know where the doors are to ask to see what's behind door number 2. So if I could do anything else, I probably would, but I cannot be happy unless I am writing. And I was raised by baby boomers who told me that happiness was an important part of being alive. So
Could you walk us through your process, right? Is it structure first, story, character, ideas, a conglomerate of all things? Is there a process for you that you find now where you're like, oh, this is a good flow?
Yeah. So I'll get a thought or a question stuck in my head, and if it just lingers there and it won't leave me alone, I know, okay, I've got something that I need to explore. And I'll roll it around in my head for a little while before I actually get down to business. And once I feel like I have a beginning, a climax, and an ending, I'm like, okay, now it's time to sit down and do the actual work. And I'll card first. So, and for people that don't know what that is, it's just like using index cards or post-it notes and breaking out scenes and saying like, okay, I need like X amount of scenes in Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4 in order to have 42 cards, which is like the norm of what in an hour long you'd have like 42 scenes. So I'll do that for a while and kind of just figure out what the shape of things look like. Then I'll do an outline, and I have tried to skip the outline. And you can't skip the outline.
Hence the word tried.
Yep. It feels so much like homework, but honestly, it saves you so much time and grief by actually sitting down and creating an outline, fleshing out each scene. You start to realize, oh, that doesn't, in my head, that made sense, but it's not making sense on paper. I'll get my outline done. I will, now that I have reps, I will send the outline to my managers and get their thoughts on it. And then I won't do a second outline for them. I'll just go like, okay, cool thoughts. I'm going to think about them while I do the first draft. I get through the first draft as quickly as I possibly can, because I hate doing the first draft. I just try and like force myself to get it. I try and force myself to get a first draft done in 2 to 3 days, because I I want to get to the end because that's when the fun part starts. I love doing rewrites because you get closer and closer to what the thing is supposed to be with every rewrite. So I rush myself to the end, which usually means that my endings are very rushed in the first draft. It's like, oh, action. Oh my God, we're done. Okay, well.
Yep.
So I fixed that. But I'll do the first draft and then I'll walk away for a little while because by the time you finish the first draft, you're like right here with what you're doing. So I'll walk away for, it could be a couple of days if I really have to get the thing done, or it could be a couple of months if I'm like, I gotta think about that and leave it where it is. I come back and I do a second draft. And I'll usually print out the first draft to go through it in the second draft because I feel like you see your script really differently on paper than on the screen.
100%.
Yeah.
So I'll print it out. I'll go through. I'll make a whole bunch of notes. I'll do a second draft. I will share that second draft with somebody that I trust. Get notes back from them. Do some tweaks. Proofread because that's very important too.
Yep.
And then I'll share that like third draft with my reps. And then the process goes in like a bunch of different directions depending on what my reps think.
Wow. Oh.
Wow. Do you have what's your perfect writing spot? Is it just at your desk? Is it at a cafe? Music? Okay. No music?
It changes all the time because I have ADHD. So like, which I think is, I like to shout that from the rooftops because I think a lot of people think ADHD means that like you can't get work done, but that's not, it just means that you have to create systems for yourself. And I know that because I have ADHD, a spot will work for me for a little while and then it won't, and I have to move on. Yep. So I have like 10 coffee shops that I kind of bounce between. I have these big noise canceling headphones that I put on when I'm in the coffee shop, and I don't play any music. If it's loud, I'll play some white noise, but it's a signal for me to focus. I find it extremely hard to write at home because I have so many ways to avoid writing. I'm like, oh, I should take the trash out, and like, oh, there's a Christmas present I haven't wrapped, and like, oh, I haven't cleaned the baseboards, and like, I never clean the baseboards. But like, when there's writing to do, of course I'm going to clean the baseboards. So I try and get out of the house to write. When I'm doing carding, it's good to be here because coffee shops don't like when you put Post-its on the wall. But once the real writing is happening, I try and take myself just out of my home space.
Nice.
That's great.
What are you most passionate about writing right now? Does that also go through phases where it's like more comedic, more,
I always want to write female-centered stories. I have exactly one script that is not a female protagonist, because it's a real life person, and I was like, people will be mad if I make him a lady. But I would have if I could. So I'm always passionate about writing women because we just don't have enough of it. And also, I think that we don't hear enough about the many different experiences of women and how very, very different and how very different they are and the difference in their interior lives. I think we don't hear that much about. But in terms of where those women are, and this also might be the ADHD, but I like to explore a lot of different genres. So I will get excited about like, oh, I'm going to write a horror comedy, or this woman I feel like would live in a rom-com. And I just kind of follow what I'm interested in at the moment, and the questions that I have.
I love that.
That's great.
And so like I'm going to combine two questions because I think that they fit. It's like, so you write the advice we get is write what you know, write what you know, write what you know. And it's like, okay, but what if I don't know and I'm really passionate about this and I feel like I could tell the story justice. And then the other layer of that is like, how much do you pull from your personal life? Because I'm in a stage right now where I'm kind of like settling into my "you don't like me, I don't really care" era. I'm gonna I'm gonna say what I need to say, what I've been dying to say forever, and more unapologetically female. So woman, yeah. So so what does that look like for you? How much do you pull from your personal life and write what you know? What do you think about that?
So I think that write what you know is often taken the wrong way. I don't know how it was meant to be taken, but I'm gonna say write what you know should be about writing the emotion and the psychology that you know, not necessarily like the lived experience that you've had. So Lost Hope Hotel, which is my pilot script that has like done the best for me, like it's gotten me into a lot of stuff, is about a family that runs a fake haunted hotel. Okay. The family does not run a fake haunted hotel.
Damn it.
Oh, I know. I'm so sorry. They don't run a hotel of any kind. But while that premise is not something that is a lived experience that I have, the story of Lost Hope Hotel is about a very traumatic thing that happened to my family when I was 18. And that I know the emotion of that. I know the psychology of that. I know the way that my parents and my siblings behaved during that time. So that's what I know, and that's what I can write. So that's how I take write what you know. We of course have to be careful too that when we're talking about writing what you know and lived experiences and stuff like that, you have to take into consideration culture and ethnicity. Yes. Because the last thing that we want to do is assume that we know how someone of a different lived experience in that sense would feel or behave. One of my very good friends from USC, who is also a wonderful writer, Anna Khan, she's Pakistani American, and we were in this diversity and inclusion class at USC and debating like, oh, should white writers write people of color? And Anna said, we want to be in your stories. And I think that that's important, that we need to make sure that no matter what ethnicity or culture we are coming from, that we have inclusive scripts, because we want to continue to show how diverse this world is. And we want to continue to include people in that way. And we don't want people of color to disappear in our stories. But we also have to be very steadfast about making sure that we either, when we include those people in our stories, that we are coming to people of that lived experience and making sure that we are doing right by it. And that if the story is centering a person of that lived experience, then we probably should not be writing it. We should be writing it to somebody that can speak to those layers of that experience and the subtleties of it, the complexities of it. I walked off of a project in which there were two protagonists, a white man and a black man. And I said, I do not feel comfortable writing the lived experience of a black man. And I think that we should bring on a black writer in order to work on this with us. And when I was told no, I said, well, then I'm not going to be involved. And I left the project.
Good for you.
I love that. What are you watching right now?
Oh, yeah.
So we just finished Loki.
Nice.
I'm watching Gen V, which I am loving.
As soon as we saw it, we remembered your story in Stowe, and we were like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
I love Gen V so much. If anybody from Gen V is listening, I'm available.
Hell yeah. Is there a show that you would love to write for presently, or a show from the past, and like why?
The show that I feel like is like the show that got away, but only because like I didn't get to LA in time, Shameless
Ah.
is
Ooh.
that show. The thing that I love about it so much is that from season to season, your heroes become your villains and your villains become your heroes.
Mm.
It is the way that I want to write television. I think it's so spectacular. The fact that it is this huge ensemble, but everybody really gets their space and their time is incredible. So also John Wells, if you're listening, I'm available for anything
John Wells.
going on.
That's great. So for the nugget section, is there a favorite piece of like writing advice you've received? And also the worst?
Don't name names, just you know.
Nuggets.
Right. I'm gonna start with the worst.
Yes.
The worst writing advice that anybody can receive is to write something because it's trending. Like because of two things. Number one, by the time you finish it, the trend will be over.
Yep.
And number two, executives don't really, they have mandates that they have to follow, but they will respond to something that like lights a fire in them. And what lights a fire in them may not be on the mandate, but they can go and they can fight for it. I mean, that was what happened with Dolores Roach. I mean, that show was not on anybody's mandate, but there were executives at Amazon that loved it and they fought for it, and it became a show because of that passion. And that passion only shows up if you show up with passion. So you have to write what you're passionate about and what you're excited about. And you will find your audience. It may take a lot of time, but you'll find your audience. But I would say the best thing is to approach everything like a student. Imposter syndrome is something that I think people really wrestle with all of the time. And I think the way to defeat imposter syndrome is, instead of walking into every room going, I have to prove that I'm meant to be there, walk into every room going, I cannot wait to learn something. I can't wait to figure out like how this person breaks story. I can't wait to see how this person handles writing action. I cannot wait to see what new things are coming towards me, because if you are constantly a student, then there's no room for imposter syndrome.
Oh, I love that. What are some of your go-to resources that you stay sharp with, so that people who are interested in getting into writing, or like ourselves trying to stay sharp but need new resources, what are some of those things?
So I always like to put out the free stuff, because it's expensive.
It's so expensive.
Everything's expensive.
Yes.
So the Blacklist does a series called Word by Word, which is hosted by Ed Solomon. So when they premiere the live event, it is free. But you can also go on Patreon, and they do have like a paid thing on Patreon. I think it's like $10 a month, and you can watch all of the past episodes of Word by Word. Awesome. But those have been really fantastic, because Ed's just bringing his friends in, and his friends are like everybody that you would ever want to hear from.
Amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
If you are a member of the LGBTQ plus community, there's pre-rainbow pages. So you can go to their Twitter page, type in pre-rainbow pages, sign up with them, and they will do, I just attended a talk from them on Thursday, so they'll do a bunch of free talks from writers. And then the WGA they are still recovering from the strike, so they haven't posted anything yet, but they also will do free events that people, they have specific ones for WGA members, and then there are ones that they'll open to the public as well.
Okay.
Those are all fantastic.
That's great.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Of course.
And we'll make sure to add and plug all that stuff in so people can find those things.
Yeah.
What are you working on right now, and where can we follow your journey? Any plugs, websites?
Plug action.
Plug action.
So what I am working on right now, I'm finishing up my script for Sweet Magnolias. And then I'm once the room has essentially wrapped, but I'll be done in a couple of days. So once I'm done there, I have 2 projects that I'm working on. I'm going to be working on a new pilot that's kind of like Sex and the City meets The Bold type.
Ooh, okay.
And a feature that I'm calling The Comedic Birdman,
Love it.
starring
Nice.
a lady.
Okay.
Which also goes to show again, like I clearly don't. I'm not sticking to a genre. I'm moving around.
You're all over. That's great.
Yeah. But you can follow me on I'm Alex Rubin Writes on all social media.
Okay.
Great.
Anywhere you go, just type in Alex Rubin Writes and you'll find me. And my website, alexrubinwrites.com.
And I
Awesome.
love your website. It's so fun.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yes, you can tell you put a
I
lot
do
of
it
work into
myself.
it. That's
That's right. That's right. That's
We've been
right.
learning how to do a lot of stuff. I've taught myself how to be a DIT this week, how
Yeah.
to edit, because I'm
Yep.
just like, again, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
I taught myself Photoshop so that I could make my own pitch decks.
You
Like,
go, girl.
I mean, it's not glamorous up in here, but we're getting
Hey,
work done.
that's
right.
right. That's
That's
right.
right.
Anything else to leave us with? Anything.
Anything.
Yeah. The thing that I had to learn more than anything else was that things don't happen on your timeline.
Oh my
So
God.
if you're saying I need to be a writer by the time I'm 28 on an Amazon prestige show, you should let go of that because things are going to happen to you when it's time. And of course you need to do the work. Of course you need to be prepared for when those opportunities come. But I think that the reason why I got a script as a writer's room assistant on Sweet Magnolias is because I spent years of my life writing plays and musicals. I spent a year on the horror of Dolores, Roach, learning everything that I could. And I came to the Sweet Magnolias room ready for that opportunity. Of course, I would have loved to have had that opportunity the second I got my diploma in my hand, but it would not have been as good. Not
You got to
nearly.
earn the stripes.
Yeah.
You got to earn the stripes.
Yeah.
You got to earn the stripes, and you got to just you've got to prepare yourself. This whole thing is climbing Everest. It's you're not taking the chairlift up.
Yeah. And I've got to ask, right? Because one day, right, a goal for me to eventually get into a writer's room. But the nerdy freak out guy in me is like, all right, what are the tips, the insider tips I need to know in terms of like, and I'm talking about basic, like, is there a chair you're not supposed to sit in? Should I have multicolored pens ready to go? Do I need just rolls of paper?
It's so elusive.
How do you walk in so you don't look like the Johnny?
So, okay, first of all, multiple colored pens are an absolute plus in any writer's room.
Great.
Every writer will be like, oh, you have purple? Like,
Yeah, great. All right.
We all geek out on pens, but really when you're walking into the room for the first time, like let's say you're are we saying you're a staff writer or you're a writer's room assistant? Because
Ooh.
A quick breakdown of each.
so writer's room assistant, you're going to be taking notes all day long. Your responsibility is going to be catching every pitch, every lane that is gone down. And then after the room ends, you're going to organize it so that everybody in the room can reread it that night.
Cool.
So that's being a writer's room assistant. And there's lots of other stuff involved, but that's like the main thing. As a staff writer, your whole job is to make one good pitch a day. Don't stress yourself out and think that you have to be pitching as much as the executive producers are pitching because they have been doing this for years. I've been lucky where I've been in 2 rooms where as an assistant, I was also allowed to pitch, and I took the same mentality as being a staff writer.
Cool.
Just make one good pitch a day and and you've earned your paycheck.
Mm.
And the don't of it is, if you pitch something and it falls flat, do not bring it up again.
Let it go.
Let it go. Even if your idea you think would win an Emmy Award, it doesn't matter. The showrunner doesn't want it. Your entire job as a staff writer, your entire job on staff, period, is to fulfill the vision of the showrunner.
Yep.
Yes.
Everything needs to be in service of that. I know you might write it differently. You can do that when you have your own show.
Right.
Right.
Oh, that's so
Awesome.
healthy. It's like keep your ego in check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
Egos are only going to make your life so much harder in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
The flames that I have seen people go down in, and we won't talk about it publicly, but if you
Sure.
guys want to talk when I come in January, I'll
Yeah.
tell you about it.
Yeah.
But the flames that I've seen people go down in just because of an ego
Mm.
is insane. I made a mistake as the writer's room assistant. I made a mistake this week, and I immediately texted and called my showrunner, and I was like, I made this mistake. I messed up. I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fine because I came at it with no ego. I was like,
Yep.
this was my fault.
Yep.
Owned up. Yeah, that's it.
Have integrity. There's so many times I've seen that too on the AD side of it. It's just like, it's okay. You messed up.
Yeah.
It's fine. We're going to fix it. Just
Yeah.
don't lie. Don't try to cover it up.
You learn from messing up. And sure, you might be in a room where you get yelled at because your showrunner is a jerk. But like my showrunner is lovely, and she just laughed and was like, oh, this doesn't even like hit on the fuck up scale. Like you're fine.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. That's great.
I
So-
love that.
So yeah, like go the less of an ego you have, the more you're actually gonna enjoy doing this job.
Mm. Mm. Well, thank
Awesome.
you, Alex, so much.
Thank
This
you
is
so much,
nice
Alex.
Forever, because you're
Yes.
so knowledgeable
Yeah.
and so
Oh,
cool.
Yeah.
I adore you guys so much. You're
Thank
so
you.
wonderful.
Thank you so
Same.
much.
So we'll meet you in January.
Yes.
And thank you for coming on the Spouting Double podcast.
That's
Of
it.
course.
Have-
Anytime.
I'm going to stop recording now.
Thank you.
Okay.
And we're back.
Yes.
Yeah. I hope you got so much from that.
Yes, as we
because
always do when we sit down and get a chance to talk to Alex. She's a wealth of knowledge.
She's the best.
Yep.
Thank you for tuning in. Thanks
Yes.
for sharing and liking and sending us comments. We're doing it for fun, and it's just nice to see people, I guess, respond to it.
Yeah, and if there's anything that we missed or you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the boxes below, and we'll try to help you answer those questions if we can.
Yeah, and we are going to start a directing series coming up, and we have a great guest for episode 4,
That's very awesome.
and we are on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
Submittable, and now Spotify. So
Bang.
check us out, Spouting Devil Podcast.